Okay, hello everybody. So we're not going to start with music, but a big chunk of today's class, thank you to our cantors, Jacob Nimi and Chazan Naomi Hirsch, are going to lead us through some of the music settings for this very, very, very famous psalm. And I want to point out that this is a super famous psalm that probably none of you have ever heard of before. And part of why I keep saying is that we have some of the psalms that have risen to superstar, rating, like Psalm 23, or Psalm 121 or Psalm 137, things like that. But there are, that's why I love going through them in order, because there's an experience of them that's so deep when you see them and you start to see gems that are in them that are really gems. Hi, Randy. Bye, Randy.
Hi, sorry.
Bye. See, won't you miss seeing Randy when I'm teaching a class inside CBST? It's like it's so funny. Anyway, and I encourage you to keep building your own Psalms practice, which includes, and I don't say this all the time, which includes figuring out, are you going to say Psalms in order every day, or a few of them, or say the Psalms from 1 to whatever number we're up to? There's a way of not just going to the famous ones, the Psalms have power. They have power as a group. They have a power just reciting them. They have a power studying them. There's all different levels. There's a power singing them. There's many different levels of them. And I want to acknowledge that today, starting last night, is Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's Independence Day on the Hebrew calendar. Everybody always asks me, wasn't it in May? So it's the 5th of the month of ER, and we just observed Rosh Chodesh ER earlier this week, which was, of course, the same day as the beginning of Ramadan, because it's both the beginning of the sighting of the month of the moon. And on the 5th of the month of ER, Hey ER, was the May 14th, 15th date in the English calendar in 1948. So that's why most Americans think of Israel Independence Day, or if you were conscious in 48 or aware of history, that it's a May date. And sometimes people are thrown off about when we observe it on the Jewish calendar. And by the way, Palestinians observe Nakba Day on Israel Independence Day, but they do observe it on the May 15th date itself. But more about that another time. So today is Israel Independence Day, and we will be observing it at CBST tomorrow night at our Shabbat service, which will be spectacular. And I think I can let you all in on a secret, because we're close enough to the date, and we can imagine nothing is going to happen between now and then. God willing, You are the only ones in the congregation to know this. Bend closely so I can whisper this. Shh. Joyce, Sam, and I, and Rabbi Reuven Greenwald are going to be in the sanctuary. We're starting to do once a month services led from the sanctuary. Again, putting our toes in slowly, examining how it's going. And hopefully in the summertime, we'll be able to welcome congregants in small numbers. We're going to figure out the right way. We're not rushing people. We're going to do this slowly and carefully. And Monday night at our town hall, we'll go into greater detail. But shh, tomorrow night, we don't announce it well in advance, because we never know if sometimes we have to reschedule because of virus positivity things. Anyway, but tomorrow night. Shh. Okay. Let us go to Bernstein, Psalm 19. And yes, this is the 73rd birthday of Israel. By the way, Merav Michaeli, who is the new chairwoman of the Labor Party, did a beautiful video yesterday for Yom HaAtzmaut for Randy. It's on her Facebook page. Maybe we'll share it. It's really beautiful. And she's really quite a superstar right now, Merav. And she spoke at CBST some years ago when we were in the church. I don't know who remembers. And she continues. She recently said in an interview that Israeli Jews need to learn something from American Jews. And in fact, she spoke at a gay synagogue in New York with a lesbian rabbi that showed the world what Judaism should look like. Anyway, Merav Michaeli. Okay, so let's look at Psalm chapter 19 in the Gaia Bernstein.
All right, I'm waiting for the first hand to shoot up for our English.
Okay, who's gonna read? Let's have different people read stanza by stanza. Okay, let's see.
Okay, put up some hands. Nothing yet.
This is
Okay.
English, folks.
Alicia Fowler. Alicia.
Great,
Okay.
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 Oh, we got a lot. Great.
Okay.
And then just
Alicia.
let's go. We'll read all the stanzas. So each of you read one stanza.
Dana.
Okay.
Harold will call on you.
Yes. So Alicia had her hand up first.
The sky tells your story. Your glory speaks in orbits, planets, night and day. In webs of space and time, sublime, the heavens express your will.
Kenneth. Kenneth? Are you working at the, Kenneth Carpel, are you here? Are you able to unmute yourself? Let's go to Lisa Brown and get back to Kenneth.
Each morning in joy, the sun, like a groom, leaves its chamber to start the day with warmth uncontained. It leaps across the sky and radiates heat, light.
Michelle Zalkin.
Your light, your word are gifts to us eternally. We have to see your constancy and symmetry, infinity.
Sherry.
If only I could stay the course that you have set for me and steep myself in truth and love and fear as you dictate, my soul enriched would overflow.
Kenneth, if you're here. Okay, Jack Neiman. Oh, Kenneth, we can't hear you. Sorry, Jack, can you take the last stanza? Jack Neiman?
Am I there?
Yes, you're here.
So guide my heart, my head, my lips to sing your song and heed you.
Beautiful, thank you. So first of all, let's talk about the big picture of Bernstein's. Just like the haiku is a form that creates a structure in which Ira has so beautifully shown us the limitation can create freedom. Bernstein, no matter how long the psalm is, and we saw this in the lengthy psalm we just had, limits all of her psalms to 1 page or less. So it's a self, and you can see it for publishing purposes. It has a practical purpose, but it has an interesting structural limitation that gives her a structure to work with. So no, she does not have a single psalm in all of her book, no matter how long the psalm. And some of the psalms are even longer than the 51 verses we saw before. No psalm goes more than 1 page. So it's an interesting thing that she's done as an author, as a discipline to give herself. And obviously there's a publishing practical reason, but I like seeing both the practical and I like seeing there kind of being an artistic structure. She, like like Mitchell and like Fisher, doesn't care about numbering the Psalms, leaves aside the superscription, does not see the superscription for her as being part of her personal offering of the Psalm. So these are just things to notice. She typically, we see here, notice very little, I don't think there's any punctuation. I'm not sure we've ever seen punctuation in her Psalms. I'd have to look back to see if that's true. And she plays with form very carefully. By form, I mean, look at this, look at the first stanza. What lines have 1 word only? What lines have 2 words? She'll capitalize your, meaning she's speaking to the divine in the universe. But other than that, and the pronoun I, there are no capitalizations. So it really emphasizes, and this is an English form, right? Because Hebrew has no capitalizations. So she's using a reality of English to emphasize something. The only things capitalized are, if you look through the Psalm, if you have the book or we look through, as we look through the Psalm, notice that only your And it's a very direct conversation with the Holy One. It's not third person. It's not talking about God. It's not referring to the divine. This is directly to the Holy One. And so we see in the first stanza, the sky tells your story. I find that a really beautiful interpretation of that, though, by saying misaprim, the speaking or telling the story. Your glory speaks. How? Exactly what we talked about. Again, she uses a lot of words in these first couple of verses of language and of speak. But how is your glory seen? In orbits. And you see that, oh, Ira, I don't remember that, the double spacing there. In orbits, pause, planets. So remember we saw in the original psalm references to the physicality of the universe, and then the darkness and light, night and day is time. So in this first stanza, we have a sense that the holiness of the Holy One is experienced in the world as we see it at any given moment by looking up the sky, telling the story, the orbits, the planets, but then also in the passage of time, that day becomes night and night becomes time. And she emphasizes this with this beautiful in webs of space and time. And then one word. And as any of you who are poets and or all of you who have really written personal offerings, by putting one word on a line, it's a very deep way of giving it space to breathe and giving it a kind of an energy that if you filled other words around it, it drains a word of energy, so to speak, because you've gotten so many things going on. But by putting the word sublime, it's asking us for a little focus. The heavens, another word again for sky, and we saw that in the Hebrew. Express, another word for communication. This psalm is about communication. It's about experiencing the presence of holiness. Okay, so let's just zoom through it a little bit, and then I'll take a couple of comments on this, and we're going to stop in 5 minutes and looking at this so that we have time for the music. Harold, can you zoom down a little bit or scroll down?
Certainly.
So again, remember I talked about that the original structure is the psalm kind of has in the beginning, talks about God's presence in nature. The second is God's presence in Torah, or God's presence in revealed relationship with us. And then the final piece, which I like very much what she does, as and I'm going to go, if only I could stay the course. So she's acknowledging what we talked about, that this psalm has the experience of human fallibility, of not living up to the perfection maybe of Psalm 1, of not always being able to see the beauty of God's presence in the heavens, not always being aware and open and Zen-like. This has a longing to it. If only I could stay the course, because I know that I don't always. Oops, I just lost the, if only, it's an acknowledgement that we can't always, and this is where she uses the word fear for yira, my soul enriched would overflow. If only I could, then my soul enriched would overflow. And then the final verse, as we know, is this such a beautiful expression of prayer. So guide my heart, my head, my lips, to sing your song and heed you. Okay, so we have a few minutes to take comments, questions, responses, and then we're going to go to music for Psalm 19.
Okay. Ben Shaffrin had put his hand up a while ago.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ben. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Generally speaking, Bernstein is usually my favorite because of her poetic expressiveness. But I'm disturbed by the last stanza in this case.
The last stanza, okay.
Because the last verse of the Hebrew is a supplication. Please accept it's the personal responsibility and the supplication. Please express my sayings. And she turns it around and makes the speaker dependent on the divine. And I don't quite understand.
Very interesting, Ben. I see what you mean. Interesting. Well, that's very interesting. Yeah, I like keeping, by the way, what I do is whenever I'm looking at a translation or interpretation that doesn't have the Hebrew, I try to keep my Hebrew at hand or whatever original, so I can be seeing what the interpreter is doing. So that's a very interesting comment, Ben.
Linda Solomon.
Yes, hi, good morning. What I found very interesting was taking the last sentence or phrase in each of the stanzas and putting them together in a sentence. And it says something very interesting. So, your will, light, infinity, would overflow and heed you.
Beautiful, Linda.
I
Wow, that's
love that.
creative. That's so creative. Thank you.
Wow. Dean Dresser.
I just wanted to, I just think it's beautiful the way that she used, you really got the cosmos in the sky tells your story. And then when she describes Torah, she goes into the orbits and she gets you to see the magnificence of it all. But when she goes to Torah, she goes, the light, your word, in which
Beautiful.
she
That
brings
is
it
very
down to a
interesting.
sharp focus.
How does she get Torah? How does she explain Torah? Your light, your word. And of course, for word being Torah. Beautiful. I didn't see that before.
Wow. Lori Spear, Lori Spear put into chat the Holy One in English has an implication of personhood. Does echad in Hebrew have that resonance, or does it simply mean a numerical value or unity?
No, usually it means unity, the idea that there's some unification in the universe.
Well, that is the hands and chat. If we wanted to go to
Great. I
music.
think we should go to music now, but I hope everybody enjoyed this this week we went through a few different ones. And I hope you continue staying with Psalm 19, and I'm eager to hear what your personal reflections will be on it. But now we're going to turn it over to our cantors in our class for some musical exploration of Psalm 19.
Good
You want to
morning.
screen share Cantor Nimi? Are you okay?
Yes, I think it would be helpful just because there are some of these where, they're congregational settings. And so if people want to sing along, it would be good for them to have the transliterated text in front of them as well. So
do you want me to do it or you'll do it?
I can do it.
Okay.
Not a problem. And I want to just make sure. Oh, there's Hazan Hirsch. Good morning.
Morning. Good morning. I just got to tell you, classmates, this Cantor Nimi, he doesn't sleep. I thought I didn't sleep, but he really doesn't sleep. We're on the phone late and early. I'm just wondering, can I be made a co-host as well so I can share?
Tasha, sure. Tasha, can you please make Hazan Hirsch a co-host?
Thank you.
And Hazan Hirsch, I thought that we would just maybe go back and forth with whatever time we have. I'll share something, you share something, and we'll just do a little bit of a back and forth. So there are tons of settings of this text. Hazan Hirsch was telling me about falling down the rabbit hole of finding settings for this text, both older settings, more contemporary. It seems that every person who sets Jewish text to music makes an attempt at this text at some point in their writing. Sometimes in connection with the previous paragraph that it's included in the liturgy with Elohai Nitzor, and sometimes connected to the following text immediately after it, Oseh Shalom, and every once in a while self-contained by itself. So I thought, because there is no shareable recording of it, I thought I would share my setting first, because if there are other things that we don't get to, we can post them on Facebook and things like that later on. So I'm going to bring up text for us so that you all can hear. This was my attempt. Bring up our text. Oh, and I should turn on my original sound first. Let's do that. And now we'll share the text. Where did it go? I have so many things open on my computer. There we go. Okay. Let's figure out. I think we'll do it. Sometimes my voice is a little low in the mornings. and it's an hour earlier for me, so we'll see how this goes. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer, my rock and my redeemer. Ratzon imrei fi ve'gion libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri ve'go'ali Ose shalom bimromav Ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel Oseh shalom bimromav U'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Amen ve'imru Amen.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to pass it over to Chazan Hirsch to give. Oh,
Okay, or I am astounded. That was so beautiful. And I spent so much time last night listening to different settings of this piece. And I'm just so grateful for all the abundance we have and for the ability for, YouTube and the internet to share them. It was so different when I was in cantorial school. We didn't have this luxury. So I'd like to start us off with listening to the Yihi Yulerat Son from Bloch's Sacred Service. Ernest Bloch was a Swiss-born composer who then came to the States and ended up being a professor at the University of Southern California. And I'll say one more word about the significance of the sacred service after we hear this. I listened to a lot of different recordings and decided on this one because it is by the Jerusalem Academy Chamber Choir conducted by Stanley Sperber. And you will see at the beginning of the performance, he hushes the choir. He reminds them to be quiet. There's actually another setting of this, another performance by the same choir that's even quieter. And I loved it even more, but I didn't think it would come across so well, into everyone's homes because it's so quiet. But having sung this piece, I know that the conductors often speak about the mystery. It has an introduction as well, but we're just going to focus on the Yihi Yulerat Son itself. Very short piece, very profound. And it's a little clunky. I'm on my iPad this morning because my computer was not cooperating, but here we go.
We can't hear or see anything yet.
That's not good. I was wondering about that. Wow. You know what? Well, I figured this out, Cantronimi. I sent you the
Yeah,
links.
I have the links as well. I'm happy to bring it up. Not a problem.
Sorry, this is not. Wait. I think I solved the problem. No.
Did you share
Can you
computer
hear now?
sound?
Just one moment.
What you might need to do is stop your share, restart it, and make sure that you've clicked the check the box that says share computer sound.
Okay, learning curve. Thanks for going ahead. You share the block and I'll figure it out.
Sure. All right. So let me then just pull up the video for myself here. All right. But yes, the Bloch Sacred Service, so important to be aware of. Let me find the link here. Great. Okay. Okay.
Enter Hirsch, you need to unshare.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. I'm learning.
Okay. Just unshare you there. Okay.
There we go. All right. And I need to make sure that I shared with sound. Share sound, and optimize for video clip. There we go.
And I'm gonna, let's see.
Gorgeous.
I'm just reminded that, anytime I'm down, I'm just going to have that on cue to listen to. I think it really evokes the mystery that you've taught us about, Rabbi Kleinbaum, just no matter if you call it the goodness, the eternal God, it is in this piece and in the mouths of the singers. Back to you, Cantronimi. Thanks for your help.
Not a problem. Thank you. So let's see here. I was realizing that we actually have there are a couple of things that had Hazan Hirsch and I had time to coordinate and prepare to do some kind of duet. There are a couple of lovely duet settings of Yehi Loretz, and I thought I would share a video of one of those with you. There are two that kind of came to mind, so I'll share one of them, and if I don't have time to share both today, then I'll put the other one on Facebook. Let's see here. I think it's this window. And we're going to go to, let's do this one. So this is actually not such an old setting. It's definitely within our generation, but I would say been around for a little while. This is a setting by Cantor Rachel Nelson, arranged as a duet by I think Hollis Schachner, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Thank you. And so this is the lovely duet setting.
That's a gorgeous setting, and we've done that many times at CBST as the duet, and it's beautiful. Thank you.
Hazan Hirsch, passing it back to you.
And I don't think you had a chance to see my note. I was wondering if you could bring up the Portnoy, because I don't want to take people through my trials and tribulations, technical trials and tribulations.
Sure, not a problem.
So this piece is composed by Cantor Marshall Portnoy. He's an alum of JTS and also of Yale, if anyone knew him there. And he's recently retired from Mainline Reformed Temple here in Wynwood, Pennsylvania. And this is one of my favorite pieces that he's written, but he's written other really beautiful pieces. And one of the most moving experiences was to hear him sing this in duet with his daughter, Julie. This is a composer by a colleague of Cantor Nimi's and mine, Cantor Wendy Shermitt. And it goes into an Osa Shalom, and maybe we'll take that off just because of time, but let's listen to the beginning.
Sure.
Accepted
we've done
The
that at
transition
CBST too, so folks should recognize that. We've done that at services. That's beautiful. I love that.
Back to you, Cantor Nimi.
All right, I'm gonna stop this share. And then I thought that we'd do something live here in honor of it being Yom HaAtzmaut, to do one by an Israeli colleague of ours, Cantor Yuval Porat, who's Israeli emigre working on the West Coast.
Isn't he?
A lovely setting.
Isn't he at the BCC? Is he at BCC?
I don't know off the top of my
I
head.
think he is.
Yeah.
That's the LGBT, our sister or sibling congregation in LA.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. I met him there.
So he has a lovely setting, and I'm not, again, just to save time, I'm not going to do his transition to Oseh Shalom, but I'll put the YouTube recording up onto the Facebook page later so you all can listen to the whole thing. Oh, and I should bring up text for us. It's always nice to have that in front. All right. Yiyu leratzon imrefi ve'hegyon li'on libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, my rock and my redeemer. And he just opens it up into this gorgeous, also like Oseh Shalom. His voice is also way higher than mine, so he probably does it maybe like 5 whole steps above that.
So I have the next screen share for Cantor Hirsch, if that was the end of that, Cantor.
Or yes.
Okay.
I'll just say a quick word. This next piece is a setting of Yiyul Ratzon by composer Bonia Shore. For many years, Bonia was the composer in residence at Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati. He was an amazing man. He was born in Latvia. He survived the Nazi invasion. He fought in the Russian army. He immigrated to Israel. He lived on a kibbutz, and he ended up teaching in the United States. And he was quite a character. He himself had these incredibly bushy eyebrows, bushier than anything you've ever seen. And the first time I met him, I was in a group of many cantors, and he was in the middle of explaining about a piece, and he stared at me and he said, "You have eyes that could move mountains." And then he went back to teaching. So here's you, the guitar. It was composed for guitar and voice, and neither Cantor or I could find the name of the singer, unfortunately. Maybe.
You want me to cut it? Okay.
Yeah, please. So Cantor Nimi, did you have another one? You have that one. If we have time for probably one more, right?
Yes.
What do you think, Hazan Hirsch? Do you want to do the Arlen or Torat Adonai Tamima?
Torat Adonai Tamima.
Okay, we can share the other recording with folks at another. Actually, I think people know the Dennis Arlen anyway, because I found it actually in an old CBST Shabbat evening program. So I think the Lewandowski is the way to go.
All right. So I'm bringing up the Lewandowski so that I can send that over. Maybe, you know what, why don't you just go with it, Cantor Nimi, because you have it. And what I'll say is I had two different versions of it. And this one is sung, it's pretty special. It's in Berlin by Cantor Estrango Nechama, Zichrono Livracha. And at the Pestalozzi Synagogue in Berlin, every single Friday night, they still have a service composed of as many Lewandowski or his contemporaries as possible, with a choir and cantor. And Estrango Nechama was the cantor of the synagogue for something like 50 years and survived Auschwitz. And it's a slow recording. We might not have time to get through, but I think this setting by Lewandowski is one of the most heavenly settings. And this is the text from Psalm 19 of "The Torah is pure, reviving the soul." That section, I'm sorry, I don't have the text set up to bring you. Can you share that?
Let's just play it out. And if people need to leave, they leave at the mark, but let's not cut the piece, okay?
And just also to say that there are so many settings of these texts. We could spend weeks just listening to all different kinds of settings of these texts. By the way, for folks who know, Cantor David Berger's album is actually called Hegyon Libi, from pulling from the phrase from that last verse of Psalm 19 as well. And he has a lovely setting of the text on that album too. So maybe I'll post that on Facebook later. This is Torat Adonai Tamima.
Enjoy.
Toras
So beautiful.
Spectacular. Thank you, both of you, so much. And we'll please post things in the Psalms class for those to enjoy it. And as they both said, you can go to YouTube and put these words in there and find a lot, but thank you for curating for us. Really spectacular. All right, the room will stay open for 5 minutes, folks, and see you tomorrow night at services.
Yes, I just wanted to share some, everyone can go who needs to. I just wanted to share something that might make this, I probably should have shared this earlier. This is the page from Bechol Levavcha. This is where this appears, page 118. This is the last prayer in the actually prayer after the formal end of the Amidah. But since we say it, the Amidah silently on Friday, some of us are saying this to ourselves, and then there's Yehiyu L'Ratzon and Oseh Shalom. This is the point where many of us will bow before sitting down. And since we're silent, there are nights when you don't hear these verses at all. And then there are nights when the programming includes some musical setting of either Yehiyu L'Ratzon and or Oseh Shalom. Am I correct, Rabbi? Yes. All right. So that's correct. That sometimes we just, sometimes this
That is correct, and I could also show you where some of these others are from, but maybe we'll do that on Monday, sir.
Okay,
So,
great.
okay.
So personal
Unfortunately,
offerings.
I do have to go, so.
You go. Personal offerings due on Monday and
Well, they're due on Sunday,
Sunday,
right?
due on Sunday. We'll share them on Monday and Tuesday. Shabbat shalom to everybody. Thank you, Cantors.